Welcome, welcome everybody. I'm super happy to have you all here. Today we will have the call in English because normally all my calls are in German for my German followers and my German coaching, but I decided that this topic is actually so important that I wanted to have a little bit of a broader audience today. And yeah, I hope that you will all understand everything. For everybody who is in the coaching, if you have any questions afterwards, you can just drop me a message, and then we will have next Monday our mindset call on Monday, and we can repeat the call in German if you want, or if you say it's fine, then we will have another topic. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about reality shifts, because reality shifts are something super important. And the first one happened to me more or less by accident. Today, I want to start actually with my story because I think it's very important. Why should you listen to me? Why should you listen to me speaking about reality shifts and about the law of quantum? And I think that I experienced already two massive reality shifts in my life, and one of them happened by accident. But now I know actually why it happened. So I would say, let's jump in. I prepared a little presentation so that you can follow along. And yeah, as I said, we are talking about reality shifts, and we are starting with my story today. We will have here our little outlook. So first of all, how did I experience reality shifts for the first time? How did I know that it was a reality shift? That's maybe also pretty important. And then we are going a little bit into quantum physics and quantum entanglements. I tried to make it not too complicated, but all we talk about today is science-based, okay? So this is 100% our reality. And it is not some spiritual, esoteric conspiracy theory. So it's really science-based. That's why we have quantum physics and quantum entanglements in it as well. Part number 3 is very important. Do you create a predictable future? We're going to talk about this, and maybe you can get a journal or some piece of paper and a pen, and then you can make some notes for yourself, because it will be easier for you to apply it afterwards if you have your piece of paper handy. Then we are talking about what is your vibration and what is your permanent vibration you are vibing in. And then we come to the very interesting part, reality shifts itself. And then I divided it in 2 parts, because I think first of all, it's very important that we do some kind of preparation before we can actually shift our reality. And then we are talking about how to do the action and get into a reality shift and make it really happen. So first of all, something to laugh for you. These are my 3 realities. It was really hard to find a picture of the first 2, because 1 year ago, I lost almost all of my pictures, but on one old stick here, I found them. So when I left school, I was a rebel. I was super bad at school. I had the worst grade you can actually have to still get your high school degree, because I was, first of all, never in school. And second, when I was there, I was most of the time sleeping, and I was not interested at all in any kind of education. I was super annoyed. So I decided, no, this is not for me. I need to do something I love. And you have to know, I was growing up in Munich in a very posh area. And the only thing I could imagine, which I really liked, was cooking. So I decided to go against all recommendations from the outside. And I decided, okay, I want to be a chef, and I want to work as a chef, because in my imagination, it was pretty cool. I thought, okay, I can travel the world, because if you work in the kitchen, you don't need to speak the language. So you can really just travel the world and go wherever you want. And that's what I did. My first station was in Austria. From there, I moved to Hong Kong. From Hong Kong, I moved to Switzerland. And then at one point I moved back to Germany, and my last job as a chef, I was in total working as a chef for 6 years. And in my last job working as a chef, I got more and more unhappy because I could feel, and we are talking about feeling a lot, that's very important, because I could feel that this is not anymore the reality I want to live in. But by that time, I had no idea about quantum physics, about reality shifts, about trading. I didn't have any idea what to do else, because all I could do was being a chef. And as I told you, I had very bad grades before. I had a very bad exam. So it was not so easy for me just to get into some studies or whatever. But somehow in my last job as a chef, I worked for a very high-class catering, and I traveled like almost 2 or 3 times a week to some very high-class customer. And I saw all the customers from, I don't know, some were like society, some were or high society, some were like film stars. But then we also had customers who would work in finance, who would work in a bank, or who would work in a consultancy company. And day by day, I got the feeling that I was more and more interested, especially in these office jobs, because somehow I imagined myself walking into the office and then being dressed very nice and not all the time in your stinky kitchen clothes. And yeah, I just liked the idea a lot of me working in an office. I don't know why or how, but somehow that was really like drawing me towards it. So at one point I decided, okay, I will just stop being a chef now. I had no plan what to do next. And my idea was just to get into any studies, just to hope that one of the universities would take me, and then just to see if I want to study it or not. And then by chance, the only study which were able to take me without having good grades or whatever was studying statistics, like mathematics, in Munich. And that was by far my worst grade in my high school degree. So yeah, well, I decided, okay, maybe I don't need to study it, but I really needed the insurance. So I went into the university and I said, yeah, I just go there for maybe, I don't know, a few times so that they can see I have been attended. I don't know, I tried. And then maybe I get another idea what to do, because it was somehow not an option for me. On my first day, I went to the first lesson of the first day, and I had one teacher, and he was so extremely passionate about mathematics and statistics that he really got me on fire. His vibration for this subject was so high that when I left the classroom, it was completely clear for me. There was only one way. I need to finish this, because he really, I don't know how he did it, but he was talking about all the different possibilities and what you could do with all this mathematical knowledge. And then he was talking a lot about working in finance as well. And somehow I already had the idea that I could really like it. And everybody in my entire environment was just calling me stupid. They were like, no, you are a chef. You cannot just study mathematics. And they were like laughing at me. Even my parents, or not my mom, but my dad, he was not taking it seriously at all. But I decided, no, this is my way. And somehow I had the idea that I need to finish it. And that's what I did. The first year was extremely hard and I didn't manage to pass any exam. The second year, I switched my way of thinking. And I think this is the first time when my reality shift actually happened, because at one day I was so desperate because I couldn't manage to pass a single exam after an entire year. And I was studying, I was attending, I was not just sleeping how I did it in high school. So I was like, okay, what am I missing here? I'm really trying hard. But I mean, you can imagine some of you are working already. If you didn't learn for like 6-7 years, and also before you had not really a strategy how to learn, how to study, then it's extremely hard to get into it. But then I realized, okay, I just need to change my way of training and not waiting for somebody to present it to me on the table and to explain it to me, because I was also very disappointed because all the professors were not really in the mood to explain a lot in university. So you really had to get it done all by yourself. So I was searching for people who had good grades, and I was trying to study them first to see what are they doing different. And then I was basically copying the approach. So how would I study for such a subject? And then day by day, I could feel, okay, I would understand a little bit more. Maybe I was already able to solve 1 or 2 exercises, and that gave me a little bit of confidence. And I just used this little bit of confidence to push me even further and to say, okay, now I did this, that's already great. And then I passed, luckily, the first exam, and that gave me another push. So slowly but steadily, I could see myself being in that role of a person who is going to the office, who actually studies mathematics. And then when I changed my mindset, I got more and more confident. And then something very funny happened. Now I know it was not funny. It was just me shifting the reality. But I went to a party. I was pretty much of a party girl in my past days. And I went to an after-work party, me not working, just studying, but meeting all my friends. And by that time, I still had 2 jobs because I couldn't afford to study in Munich. So I needed still to work in the hospitality sector. I was working as a waitress and as a bartender and whatever brought me money. And then I was a little bit not complaining, but I was telling my friends, hey, look, now I think I don't know, I start to understand more and more. And I really would like to work in finance now, or at least something which is more related to statistics and not still in the hospitality sector. And then there was one person standing next to me. And he was saying, yeah, here is my card. I'm working for the biggest bank in Munich. And I just heard that you are studying statistics. You know, that is one of the most wanted jobs right now and one of the most wanted studies right now. So just call me tomorrow. And I'm sure I know already one project where you could start. And first I was like, okay, maybe he's trying to hit on me or something. I don't know. So I just waited for the next day. And then I called him and he just redirected me to one of the managers. And then I got a position in the biggest bank in Munich as a working student. And they had the nicest working conditions ever. And on top, I was the only working student in this entire bank because they never hire working students because they have a dual system where they basically have their own students. So normally they don't look outside for working students, but they made an exception because they were like, yeah, okay, statistics, it's really super rare. So we need it, we take her. And I was working for them even after I finished for, I think in total, maybe 5 years. And it was one of the best times of my life. And that was the moment when it really went also very, very well in university, because then I had this vision of myself of working in this office, working in the finance job. I was working in the risk office, basically. It's funny because it's very related to trading now. And I couldn't believe it all the time. I was going there every day and I was like, wow, how did this happen? I just left the kitchen and I had one tiny little thought, okay, maybe I want to work in finance. But then I got into slowly into the topics of more like personal development. And then I shifted a little bit more into the spiritual direction. And then suddenly, okay, I understood that the most important thing I did was I had a vision, a very clear vision where I want to be. And then I was also able to push myself to behave every day like this person. So I would wake up and I would think, okay, if I would be the best student in this subject, what would I do? And my conclusion was, okay, I would start studying right now. And I would not be disappointed because I cannot solve one exercise or because I have the feeling I'm not making any progress. I would just continue until I have the feeling that I am making progress. And then at one point, I realized after a few years working in finance, I think in total it was like 5 years, 5-6 years I was working in finance, and then the same thing happened, and I started to miss the freedom, and I started to miss the freedom of going around all the time. Also, I had the feeling it was a little bit too like stiff somehow. That's what I liked in the beginning. I was like, oh, so cool. Then somehow I realized, okay, it's just a golden cage and you don't have any free time, and you are basically working for somebody else. So by that time, I already knew that I shifted my reality, and I already knew how. So I decided I will just do it one more time, because if I did it once, then I can do it twice and it will not be a problem. And my idea was, like, at one point, I don't know how it started, because I was investing already pretty early. I think even when I was in university, I invested, but I was not actually trading. And then at one point, I got into options and knockout certificate trading already before I decided to do it full time. And it went pretty well. I had a very different strategy to what I do today. But then at one point, I was like, oh, that's actually so much fun, and I can use all the things I had to learn before. I need to know how to maybe write a little code. I need to know how to evaluate really like the financial market. I need to know how to calculate my risk. So everything was pretty statistics based. So yeah, I like the idea of me being a trader and traveling the world. And it was the shortest time I think I ever had to shift into that reality, because it only, like, from the idea which I had in mind till being the full-time trader was only 6 months or 5 months, because I was like, no, this has to happen. And then my first funded account I got a little bit later, like maybe after 8 or 9 months of the start of the idea. And what can you take away from this is that I had, again, this vision. And that's what we are talking about in the last chapter. We are talking about how can you use your vision of being a full-time trader to actually become a full-time trader in the shortest period of time, or whatever you want to become. But I think it's very, very handy if you have this concept in mind, that you really need to have this super clear vision. So that's a little bit about me. Now you know like some of my different realities. Then there's the yoga teacher reality, but I didn't include it here because it's getting too difficult to remember. But I think these are the 3 main important. Maybe if we're talking in 4 years, then we will have a 4th one or a 5th one. I don't know. Life is, for me, it's pretty unpredictable. But now we are coming to the interesting part and to the scientific based part, which we need to know first before we can properly understand how a reality shift works. And especially how our entire reality works. So we know, or I don't know if you know, but I hope that you know, because most of the people already got a little bit in contact with the quantum physics. And I think the main difference is that we have 2 different observations of how we can calculate the physical laws, if you understand what I mean. For example, if we want to calculate speed, then we have the Newtonian physics. We have the clear formula, for example, like a plus b is x, for example, and it's a safe outcome x. Okay, if you insert a plus b, you get x. And if you compare it to quantum physics, then in quantum physics there is no safe outcome. There's just a probable outcome. Okay, so you don't say, oh, a plus b is x, but you would maybe say a plus b is x with a probability of 80%. I think this is one of the main characteristics which we have and which makes it very, very interesting, because it means that we have different states of reality, different fields of possibility, which we can observe and which are all possible with maybe different probability. So first of all, that's like, I think, really the main, like the key takeaway. I didn't even include it in the key takeaway, but it's the key takeaway. And the Newtonian physics is kind of on the way to be outdated. It is outdated, but still quantum physics, it's such a complicated topic and so many things that cannot really be explained with what we can see. And people like to only believe what they can see. So it's still like lots of, I would say lots of laws and reality to be experienced, which we don't even know yet. Also, I didn't study quantum physics, which is a pity, but maybe that will be my next reality. But first of all, we understand that everything is made of particles, okay? Even this glasses here is made of particles. And these particles are moving. And these particles are made of smaller particles, like each particle is, again, consisting of particles. And it's called like the quanta or subatomic particles, which are like immensely small. So if we can observe, for example, these glasses, then we know that more than 99% are actually moving particles, which are not matter. Then we have, like the atom, the matter, which is less than 1%, way less. I think it's 0.001% or whatever. So all we have here and all we can observe, and we think, okay, these are glasses, is moving and is energy, and I observe that these are glasses, or this, at least this is my perception of reality. Maybe you see something different, but it's very interesting that we focus on the 0.001%, the matter, because this is what we can perceive. This is what our eye can see. This is what I can touch. But most of this object, the 99.999% of energy of moving particles, that it's so far away from my perception and so far away from what I can believe that it's possible to move, or it's possible to make maybe another form, that we don't want to see it. And that's what most people are doing. Most people are focusing on matter. They only focus on what they can see, what they can touch, what they can have in their hands, what they can call their own, like all these possessiveness on objects. That's like the main focus of so many people. What can I possess to make other people think, for example, I am rich? It's all focused on matter. So I just made here a little, little notes for you and for me, not to forget anything. But yeah, the vibration of the particles, that's what we call energy. It's very important because we are talking a lot about energy in this call. And yeah, the rules of physics, I already explained it to you a little bit, I hope, clear. If you have any questions, you can either text me afterwards, or maybe we can, in the end, I can try to answer them, but please be gentle. As I said, I didn't study physics. So yeah, the key takeaways you should definitely have of quantum physics is there is something that's called an observer effect. If you have a deeper interest in that, you should Google it in your language, then it's maybe easier to explain. But the observer effect basically tells us that we observe what we want to observe, and that we have different states of reality, and they are energy and not matter. And if we decide to observe a reality, then it is unfolding itself into matter. So you decide what are you observing and what is your reality. Again, and that's also key takeaway number 2, that particles have a limitless field of potential. That means that we have basically different realities which are there, and you can decide if you want to be in this reality or not, if you want to observe it or not, but you just have to believe and really be completely convinced that there is any reality. So, for example, there is a Magda who is maybe a chef as well, or there is, I don't know, a Juliane who is a professional skier or whatever, you know. You can be whatever you want. You just have to decide to be in it and then to work towards it. And we are going to talk about this at the end. Okay, the next very, very important one, like let's say quantum law, or one part of quantum physics, it's called quantum entanglement. And I think there are some proofs of this regarding the Big Bang. So you can just Google quantum entanglement if you have a deeper interest in that. I think it will be a little bit too much for this call here. But it's basically when we have two objects or bodies or just two things which become energetically connected to each other, they act as one. And it doesn't matter how much distance there is between these objects. It's maybe you had it already in your life as well. For example, when you had like a thought about a person and you were like, oh, what happened to this person? And then 1 minute later they called. So for example, for me, it happened last weekend. My mom was here and we didn't see my brother because he was somehow busy. And then we had brunch and I was like, oh, by the way, what happened to him? Did he call you? And then she was taking out her phone and she was like, yeah, he is calling in this second. And we didn't, but it was on mute. So we didn't know that it was like ringing. So it was really super weird. And that's, for example, when you are and I am very energetically connected to my brother. So I can almost always feel what he is feeling and how he is feeling. And that's happening with him very, very often. And maybe you had it already with your siblings, or maybe with really good friends or your parents, like people you are energetically connected to, that sometimes you just have the same thoughts, or you just call each other in the same second, or you think, oh, I should text her, and then she's texting you, stuff like that. So that's also quantum entanglement. And when we understand that there's only one thing that we have really complete control in our lives, and this is our thoughts and how we can influence our thoughts. So when we use this instrument of the control we have about our thoughts, about our energy, and about the energy we put into something by thinking of it and connecting it to a feeling, then we are interacting with it, and then we are getting an energetic connection. And that's how we can draw things into our life. Okay, that's basically how manifestation works. You draw into your life where you build an energetic connection. And your entire life, as it is right now, right here, is manifested by you. You made all the decisions. You are deciding to think all the thoughts you think all the day. And even if you don't actively decide to think them, then it's still your decision because you're not doing anything against it. And that's my favorite topic. By the way, you can also read some of the stuff we are talking today in Becoming Supernatural from Joe Dispenza. Oh, I see I made a mistake. It's, of course, Joe Dispenza. And also this graphic is from this book. So, yeah. It's about how are you creating your future from your past. And that's one of the most important topics to understand before you can shift your reality, because what you are doing in this second is you are creating a reality. I'm not sure if you're shifting it, because maybe you just want to stay in your reality. But in this moment, again and again, this day, when you woke up today in the morning, you decided to create this reality in which you are in right now. So what we are doing is we are like, if we live unconsciously, I think a lot of you might already live a little bit more conscious, at least if you work with me together, then you definitely live more conscious. But what normally happens is that we have a very, very predictable future because we are living on autopilot. First of all, we have to understand that our society is built to keep us in a specific state, which is called survival mode, or it's called fight or flee. Is it fight or flee? Yeah, I think so. And this state is basically when you are so busy that you only work in pattern. You only work on autopilot. You are not consciously thinking about your actions, but you are stressed because you have to be at work, you have to take care of your family, and maybe you have to take care of your friends and they are complaining, and then you should maybe do some charity work on, I don't know, whatever you have to do. But it's like our society and also how we grew up with like going to school for 8 hours, and then we are busy going to all of our sport, and then we have to make sure that our neighbors think good things about us, and then we have to make sure that everybody likes us. So we are more or less pushed into this form of living a life in survival mode. What does it mean being in survival mode? It means that all your energy is basically consumed by your day-to-day patterns and actions you have to do, and you might feel like a constant level of stress or a constant level of adrenaline or a constant level of you need to be busy, and if you are not busy, if you sit down, for example, then you immediately feel unproductive and you think, oh, I should do something now. If you have these kind of feelings, then you live in the survival mode. And if we live in the survival mode, and if we need all our energy and we consume all our energy to do these day-by-day patterns and to live on autopilot, then there is no energy left to create a new reality or a different reality. So these are questions for you. I will also send you the presentation afterwards, because I think it's a very important journaling exercise that you, first of all, get some awareness of what are you doing in your day-to-day life. What is your first thought in the morning when you wake up? Is it like, oh, I have to do X, Y, Z today? Or is it like, I want to have my coffee now? Or is it like, maybe I check Instagram if somebody texted me? Or is it like, oh, I want to trade right now? What is your first thought in the morning? And then second, what is your first action? What are you doing? So for example, for me, it's really, I need to have my phone out of my bedroom, because otherwise my first action will be, I will grab my phone and I will unconsciously check it for messages. Maybe you are not as worse as me. Maybe you have like a better discipline in that, or maybe you are not so addicted. But that's really what I have to do. I really need to trick myself. I need to, for example, on my main phone, I don't have the Instagram app on it, stuff like that. I don't use Instagram on my phone. I only use it on the browser and stuff. Really, like, I have to trick myself to have my first action. And now it's meditation. So this is what I think it's pretty beneficial for you. If you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is you take this state between being super awake, like, or super alert, and sleeping, and really meditate and take these first minutes or minutes of the day just for yourself to check in. We are also talking about it later when we are talking about how you can shift. And it's a very important tool. So what are you doing when you live just unconsciously on autopilot? You have basically all your thoughts from yesterday. You have all your feelings from yesterday. You wake up, you think, okay, I need to answer this person, and then I need to check my emails, and then I need to do this task at work, and then I need to pick up my kids from school, and then I need to go to my sports class, and then whatever. So when you have this state of mind, then there is no chance to create a different future. And then you are unconsciously creating day by day the same. Now, the last two sentences are very, very important. So for many people I know, they really don't like unpredictable days, events, or whatever. They really want to have a full control about everything that is happening in their life. And a lot of people I know, they also don't like any surprises. But when you are in your comfort zone, then you have most of the times, or you think you have no unpredictable events. And if there is coming an unpredictable event into your comfort zone, then you most of the time do not accept it. You get maybe annoyed about it, or you say, oh my God, for example, you get an unexpected bill. Yeah, let's say an unexpected high taxes to pay or whatever. Most of the time, this is obviously not a very pleasant, unpredicted event. And maybe you will talk about it, and you will tell your parents about it, and then you tell your friends about it. And then every person you see and all the conversations you have are about, in every conversation you are talking about this unpredicted, unpleasant bill coming into your life, or whatever. Yeah. Or for example, I don't know, maybe your boyfriend left you, and all you talk about to every single person is, how are you doing? Not so good, because my boyfriend left me. What? Why? Yeah, because this and this and this, and I think maybe this happens or this happens. Okay, what are you doing in this moment? Doesn't matter if you're talking about the ex-boyfriend, if you're talking about an unpleasant event in your life, maybe a car accident, whatever. But if you repeat it over and over and over and over and over again, and you talk about it, and then you basically relive the emotion all of the times. Every time you talk about it again and you think about it again, you are going back into that state of emotion. And what we will see in the next slides of the presentation is that your vibrational state, your emotions are your vibrational state, and your vibrational state is determining what you are attracting into your life. So that means even if you try not to complain, even if you try to be positive, but you tell somebody about your trading loss, about, oh, I missed this trade, you tell somebody about some unpleasant events, each time you are manifesting this vibration in your life. Each time you tell somebody, oh, this is hard to do, oh, I cannot do it, you are manifesting exactly this. So that's why you should really go through all the questions and journal about them, because it's extremely important to be aware, where is your unconsciousness? And how often does it happen during your day? Because the last question is very important. What is your main emotion all day? Of course, you feel good if you do a little 5-minute meditation in the morning. And maybe you have a 1-hour gym session and you feel good. But that's 1 hour and 5 minutes. What is happening in the rest of your time? Are you stressing about trades? Are you stressing about money? Are you stressing about your colleagues? Are you feeling stressed about whatever, about not enough money? Are you focusing on lacking money? What is your main emotion all day? And for that reason, I always have this here. I have actually 2 journals. I have one journal, it's like my day-by-day journal. And then I have one journal which I use more to take some notes when I observe my emotions. And I really try to observe my emotions the entire day, not just when I'm in a good mood and when it's fun to observe my emotions, but when I'm not in a good mood. Then I really try to understand what is happening right now. Why did I lose my good mood? And how can I change it? Because it's very easy to change your emotions. You just need to sit down and think about one happy or joyous event in your life, and you are here in the present moment, happy, thinking about it. So, for example, I was visiting my grandma last Sunday, and we had such an amazing lunch and conversation. And now when I sit down and I close my eyes and I think about it, then I can still see how happy she was and how she was laughing, and just like, yeah, how blessed I feel that she is still in my life. And that's really funny, because this is, sometimes I change my what I think about when I want to come in a happy, joyous state. But this is already lasting the entire week, because every time I think about it, I can still relive the emotion. And that's what you can do as well. So that's really important that you, and especially for the people who are new in the coaching, because this is one of the first steps you have to do, at least for 1 week, have your emotional journey, your emotion journal, to get a feeling, where do you stand and what is your emotion you're living in. Energy flows where attention goes. I think we all know this phrase so well. And this is probably you. Maybe you cannot relate to all of the places where your attention is going. I hope that you can see all the small things. But yeah, WhatsApp, texts, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I don't have Twitter and Snapchat. Maybe some pain in your body, then your body itself, your face, your friends, your relatives, your ex, your siblings, your parents, children, whatever, job, boss, co-workers, enemies, car, house, money, food, exercise, your past and your future, your problems, your clothes, news, TVs, whatever. So maybe you can already eliminate some of these topics, but if you see it in this circle, how it is really shown right here, then probably you get already an idea that this is too much. And that if your inner world of thoughts and feelings, and you with your ability to really channel your thoughts and to direct your thoughts in the direction you want to have them, you should not focus on all these things. Because what we are basically taught to do is to live in our outside, to do everything for other people, to take care that everybody is happy, is liking us, that we are fulfilling our duties in society, or whatever, what our parents expect of us, what our co-workers expect of us, what our friends expect of us. But nobody taught us, or maybe you had some parents who did, but I didn't, but nobody taught us to focus on you. To really have your focus on what is important, your inner world, and how you perceive your environment, and what do you feel, and how do you feel. This is really, really important. And each time when you allow your outer physical reality, because this is all matter somehow, we can see it, we can observe it, we can grab it. each time when we redirect our focus away from our soul, away from our purpose, away from our own thoughts, and we put it in all these little topics, you can see them here in the circle, then what we do is we are giving our energy away. We are having our energy in all these little fractals, and it's all over the place, but it is not where it should be. It is not here inside of you. And you cannot use your energy to recreate your reality in the one you desire. You cannot use your energy to become, I don't know, the full-time trader, because I think we have a lot of traders here you want to be. You have no energy to be the best version of you if your energy is constantly in your outside world. So this is what I journal. I observe my day. I observe my actions. I check my screen times. I check my phone like pickups. You can see it on the iPhone. How many times did you pick up your phone? I really try also to see how many hours of my day did I really spend on me. That means just me, without talking to other people, without having any distraction. That can be being in the gym, that can be being in the sauna, that can be having a walk with myself, meditating, maybe not even reading, because even when you read, then you somehow distract yourself from feeling and from just thinking. So I really prefer things where you do not have any distractions, like no audiobook, no music, just you. And that's the moment when you can really build a lot of energy, and when you can build so much energy that it's enough to shift yourself in a whole new reality. But if you have to share your energy, which is so powerful, like every 5 minutes with one of these topics, because either you're thinking about money, or you're thinking about your family, or about your cell phone, or about Instagram, or about a text message, or about whatever, when you redirect your focus every few minutes to one of these topics, then there is no chance that there's any energy left. That's what I can really tell you, and that's why it's very important to have this journal and to really observe, especially when you hear this for the first time. Maybe you are more advanced, then you probably know what I'm talking about, but if not, then this is all. And when we talk about creation, then you can imagine the survival mode I was talking before is exactly the opposite of the creation mode. Because in the survival mode, we have all our energies is really used for survival, for pride, for anger, for like hustling. We think we need to do and do and do. And creation is more, we relax, we sit back a little bit, we don't try to control, and we have the energy in us and not in our surrounding. And then we are really powerful enough to create something new and not just survive. Because I believe that it's not why we are here. It's not that we are just here to survive, to hustle, to make it really good for everybody else around us and to look good to the outside. It's more about that we are here to create, to help each other, to have like a real connection, a community, and to serve and to work in this community, or whatever your purpose is. Your purpose can be a different one, but I really think that this is like our soul's purpose of being here. And if we use all our energy by, for example, pretending or showing off who we are, and we are pride of who we are, then it's like, it's energy used for the outside. And I don't want to judge it, because everybody needs to decide for themselves what is your purpose and where do you want to give your energy to. But for me, it's really like sitting back and meditating and not trying to control things has brought so much good into my life that I can highly, highly recommend to try it. We are talking about vibration and about what is your vibration. I just wanted to make a little excursus to the different frequencies of feelings. We have a call, but I think it's in German, a call about energy. It's on YouTube, Juliana, right? It's in German, yeah. About energy, where I talk a lot more about the levels of consciousness and about the wavelengths of different emotions, but I thought it should also find a little place here tonight, because it's very, very important to understand that we can only attract what has the same energetic frequency as we have. So for example, let's say my frequency would be here at like the slower frequencies. You can see the wavelengths of the frequency is a little bit slower. And the slower frequencies are pain, lust, victimization, suffering, shame, guilt, fear, anger, control. And I would say this is the lower part, and it's also shown here in the red and orange part. That's more or less the same. It's a little bit different from whatever source you have, but it's more or less the same. And most of us live, maximum to courage, but more in this pride, anger, desire, fear, a lot of fear. And this is not even your fault. It's more the fault of the society and how news are presented to us, how our entire life is built on fear. Because if you think, okay, people tell you, no, don't leave the normal path. You need the safety net. No, you need this insurance. What happens if you don't have enough money to pay for it? Oh no, you need to have a safe job. No, don't move into a bigger house. Maybe you can afford it. So the entire society, how we know it in Germany, Austria, and so on, I don't know how it is in other countries, but a lot is based on fear, because fear is really keeping you where you are, because you have so much fear of failure. You have so much fear of what would another person think of me if I fail, that you maybe don't even try it hard enough to get out of it. And luckily, there are some parents already who, like my mom, for example, she was always like, yeah, just go your own path. The most important thing is that you are happy. But I know that some other people are like, oh, you want to be a trader? No, that's not working. I don't know. That's not possible. So a lot of people are pushing us in our fear mindset, and we are very receptive to the fear mindset, because this is what we have learned over years. So for example, I am 31, so I have learned it at least till I was 19. So for 19 years, that was like my conditioning, and it was yours as well, until you moved out, and then maybe later you changed it, or maybe not. So maybe longer or maybe not, depending on your age. So let's say I live here in the shame, in the guilt. Maybe I feel guilty for, I don't know, for some stuff, for whatever people feel guilty for. Some people think, oh, I cannot earn so much money because it's not fair for the society, or I cannot earn so much money because I don't work hard for it. I mean, let's just say it's not hard. So, oh yeah, I'm not hustling every day, all day long, so I'm not worthy of this money, for example, in trading. And what happens is I would be in this mindset of guilt and shame. Subconsciously, it's not that you are conscious, like most of the people are not conscious about it, but subconsciously you are in this mindset. So what would happen if this is the emotion I feel when I trade? And I'm talking about it because when I started to trade, I had it. I had exactly that. I was like, oh, I'm coming from a family where you have to work hard, you have to have like good grades to be somebody, to be, I don't know, like seen by the family. And if you don't work hard, they immediately think you are lazy. And even if they never saw me like, and I was actually working hard, because I was studying the charts for sometimes 12 hours per day for years. But but still I had the feeling of guilt. And I was like, oh, but I don't go to the office, and I have my own schedule, and I don't have to be anywhere. And I don't know, I'm spending too much money on food all the time because I always order food, stuff like this. And I just felt guilty for it. I felt guilty because I had the feeling that to be accepted by my family, even if nobody was saying stuff like that by that time, I had the feeling, oh, I need to, I need to look like I work harder to deserve it. And you know what happened then? I was actually sabotaging myself in trading over and over again. And I would only allow myself, and it was really funny, I realized it after a few months, like in the beginning, when it was really hard and still in the very unconscious area of my brain, I would only allow myself to make exactly the amount of money I would really need for my existence. And sometimes it was really exactly the amount. Sometimes I think, okay, how should I survive this month? And then somehow I made exactly these trades, but only to cover my expenses and to, like not be bankrupt. And then once I became more conscious about it, then it added up. But then I made for some time only the amount I was earning before in my job. I mean, I was earning good money before, it was not a problem, but I could really see that I was each time when, for example, I had some good trades, or I wanted to place some good trades, and they would, for example, kick my income higher than before, then somehow maybe I didn't take the trade, or I closed the trade too early, or the next day I took another trade, very emotional, and I lost the entire money I made. And in the end of the month, I always ended up with the same amount before. And that's, for example, also what I was talking about in my reel today, that your mindset need to grow as well. Because you really need to have a vision of what is your self-worth and what are you allowing yourself. And for example, I was really unconsciously living in these emotions, but I was constantly attracting it to me, to give myself a reason to be again in this mindset. And then sometimes when I thought, oh, now I have left it, I don't feel this guilt and fear and shame anymore, then maybe somebody of my family would actually say, oh, are you even working? And then I got pushed back again. So that was like a long, long way. And it's super important to understand that you will always attract your dominant vibration. What is unconsciously happening in your brain, and what are your emotions? And if you are here in the lower vibrations with your thoughts, then it will also become way harder, and I'm talking from experience, to become successful at trading, because it will not be possible to break out of it without changing your vibration. Because we were talking before, your thoughts are creating an energetic connection with an object, or with a feeling, or with an emotion. And when you have this energetic connection, for example, to a lack mindset, to a lack money mindset, or something like that, then you will constantly attract things into your life to prove you right, because this is your unconscious thought. If you can live here in the fourth dimension, in acceptance, in already like willingness, but acceptance is very, very important. Then, for example, think about the tax bill we were talking before, or the ex-boyfriend. How would you react? right? You would not react to it. You would see it. You would say, okay, I have to pay it. You would put it back. You shouldn't give it a second thought, because let's just assume it's you cannot reverse it, and that's like the last word. So what else would you do? You would accept it. And of course, in the moment when stuff like this happens, or when your boyfriend is leaving you, or when you lose a trade, or when you feel overwhelmed, then in this moment it's sometimes hard to see that there might be something good behind it. But normally it's always that you are pushed to being your better version. And if, for example, you get these kind of bills, then maybe it's for you to learn finally how to accept your environment, because you can only grow if you accept where you are right now and then start working towards the reality you want to be in. So now we are coming not the end yet, but close to the end, and we are talking about actual reality shift. And I gave you already some ideas what I did, and that will be on the next page. But first, this is really for you. This is what you need to do first, and only if you take it really seriously, then you will be in the next step. Because if you are too lazy to journal for 1 week about your dominant vibration, if you are too lazy to observe your emotions for 1 week, if you don't want to see it because it doesn't feel very good, maybe it feels pretty unpleasant to have it all on the surface and to observe that you are actually complaining all the time about your job, and then maybe you tell, oh, I didn't do that because I think I cannot do it, it's really hard, now I have no time for sport. If you have all these kind of excuses and you really want to hide and deny it, then you will never be able to leave your reality. If you tell me, oh, I want to change something, but you still try to control everything, then this is basically your sign to the universe that you are not ready to shift a reality, because you are not willing to make a change, and you are not willing to give some of the control away. So this is what you have to journal about. And also it's maybe even interesting for you to see which is your pattern you are following day by day. So what are you doing first in the morning? What kind of thoughts you have? What emotions come up? And then maybe also, when is the turning point? So for me, for example, the most important thing I try to find out right now, I think there's never an end on this journaling. So it's not that you are done one day, okay? So don't try to be done one day. So it will come over and over and over again as you evolve and evolve and evolve. But for example, what is my my pain point right now, that I really try to observe, when is my mood shifting? Because sometimes it comes really like super suddenly, and even like from 1 minute to the other, I feel like extremely bad without a reason for it. Or there is maybe a reason, but at the moment it's still unconscious for me, and I cannot understand it. And yeah, I don't know. In the past, I always thought, okay, maybe it was somehow related to trading and losing trades, of course, and money. But now this time it's really different, because I don't know, it happened on the day when I got my payout. So it was really like very, very unreasonable. And then I realized that, for example, one point for me is really that I judge myself unconsciously for a losing trade sometimes, even when I followed my strategy. But then I'm unhappy, even if it was a winning trade, even if I made money with this trade, I'm unhappy because I'm disappointed from me. And now what I, for example, have to do to come to the next stage is to let go of my extremely harsh self-judgment, and to find out how can I close the gap. And we are talking about the gap in the last section. But for now, we're talking about the next part. So if you're journaling, if you uncovered your patterns you do every day, if you really admit and take full responsibility for your current reality, if you really say, okay, in this moment, there are no coincidences. It's not that things are happening to me. It is you pulling it into your life. End of story. It's not that some people are poor. I mean, okay, I don't know how to talk about people who are actually poor or who are living in wars. I mean, I have my explanation for it because I think that our souls come here to the world multiple times and then live different lives to evolve. But for example, people who are here now, it's not that all the bad things are happening to you and you are a victim of your environment. It's basically you decided many, many years not to change it, not to change your thoughts, to live in your survival mode, to live in the life which you maybe don't like. And this is what we need to become aware of. And then we are coming to this next step. And then, first of all, we need to have a vision. Do you have a super clear vision? And that was really I think that was the number one part in shifting my reality the second time, or I mean, for the first time as well, but the first time it was more unconscious. But the second time it was very conscious and I had a super clear vision. I really had, for all the areas of my life, I had like a document where I would really describe how I want this area to look like. It was mainly for trading because with the rest of my life, I was pretty happy, I was healthy and stuff like that. And I would have really like a goal sheet, not with like a time goal, because I think that's not so helpful in like quantum shifts, reality shifts, because time is basically not as we perceive it as well. So it makes no sense to say, oh, it needs to be in like 1 month, but it's very important to have the clear vision. First of all, what would be the like average day of the person who is living in your reality? That's the most important thing, as detailed as possible. And then the second part of the document was always, how would I feel while I was performing all these actions? And the combination of these two is the fastest you can ever shift your reality, because what I would basically do is I woke up every morning and the first thing I read was the document. I had it next to my pillow. Then I meditated. And then I would go anywhere with my document. And each time when I would maybe unconsciously fall out of my state of feeling, of emotions, I would look it up. I would look up, how would Alexa, Mrs. Alexa, trading coach and funded trader feel right now? What would she do? How would she go to the gym, or would she skip the gym? Stuff like this. I would really just have a document for this. It sounds very simple, but it's actually very simple. And then I would always meditate on it, like at least for 2 times a day, when I wake up and when I go to bed, and really try to stay in this state of emotion, which I imagined myself to be, for at least 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening. And it's really like 20 minutes of these elevated emotions, and really try to feel how this reality feels like. I think that this is really a very fast way to achieving your goals. And then, that's like the action, like meditation, scripting it, and stay in the feeling for as long as possible as well. So if you have some times during the day, maybe some minutes where you're waiting for a bus or whatever, or you don't have anything to do, then you can also just close your eyes and try to connect to that feeling again. It's super powerful. And then the most important thing, expectation. how long did it take? Yeah, how long did it take to end up in your reality right now? Most of the cases, I would say more than 20 years. So don't expect to make one meditation or 1 month of coaching or 1 month or 2 months of scripting and everything changes. Because it took you years to come here, and you need to really to be committed for the rest of your life to perform these actions. It's not a task you have to do. You need to learn how to enjoy thinking about your reality and creating these emotional, like gratitude, like these emotions, like gratitude, like joy, like feeling blessed, feeling happy, feeling light, and integrate them more and more and more in your daily life. Because it's not like a course you do once and you, okay, I script now for 5 weeks every day and then I want to see a result. Please, here I am. What happened? No, it's like there's also no way back. It's not that you will be ready at one point and you never have to do it again, because you will constantly like develop yourself at one point and you don't want to stand on at one stage and you don't move anymore. So it's really, the expectation should be to make it your permanent routine. Maybe there's coming a new routine, or I don't know, maybe when I do it for a few more years, maybe then I change a little bit, or I see, maybe I discover new things, probably, hopefully, then we will change it. But as of now, as what I have experienced now, this is how I do it and how I still do it. It's not that I just stopped doing it because now I achieved what was my first idea. And then we are talking about the gap. And the gap is, I think it's a very, very important concept. You have the gap probably multiple times in your day, and you can spot the gap when you feel somehow suddenly unpleasant. For example, what I described to you, that it comes sometimes really sudden, that I feel not good anymore, even if everything is good, and the moment before I felt good. And the moment when we really start to feel not good and unpleasant, and that's the most important moment, is when we have a gap between the person we are and the person who we want to be. Because if we, for example, if my perception of me is to be a very structured, disciplined trader who is making money with the trades I have analyzed and which are according to my trading plan. But then I might take a trade which is maybe I broke one rule of my trading plan and I still make money out of it. But then I have a gap because I am disappointed of me not following this picture I have of myself. So I have a gap and I need to fill this gap. And the only possibility to fill the gap properly is to take action, to become more disciplined, to journal about what happened, to see my fault, but like not creating resistance, not judging it, but maybe, just trying to move closer again to this disciplined trader. And what most people do is when they observe a gap in their life, because probably you observe it a couple of times a day. And most of the times you take your phone and you go and scroll on Instagram, or you distract yourself with Netflix, because this gap feels very unpleasant. And if we allow ourselves to observe why, then it feels most of the times even more unpleasant, because most of the times we can see that, for example, we are not sticking to our promises, which we made to ourselves and stuff like that. So we are abandoning ourselves. We are giving ourselves not the respect we should give ourselves by really following our plan, which is good for us. I mean, our plan it doesn't mean only the trading plan, also like, I don't know, what you eat, what you do, what you consume, it's so much more. And the most important thing is that you really allow yourself to feel the unpleasant emotions, because only if your pain is hard enough, you will overcome it. If you constantly try to fill the gap with Instagram or distracting yourself, then there is no way at all to overcome the gap, because you will constantly be in the the victim mode. Maybe you tell people, oh, it happened again. But deep inside you, unconscious, you know what happened, and you know that it's not your surrounding happening to you. But if you want to overcome it and if you want to grow out of it, then you have to allow yourself to see the gap and try to fill it in, like, just by sitting, meditating in silence. That means really sit down and think about the gap. And it's very, very uncomfortable, but that's how you grow. And that's the last part of the presentation. And one thing about the pain point, which I see a lot, is really when people talk to me, and even people who are in our coaching, and that makes me so sad, because I always think they must have no pain point, because their effort is just so low. And that's really how I can say it, because I'm surprised. People tend to wait for something from the outside to happen, to actually give them permission or to push them towards an action. But the most important thing is that nothing from the outside can ever push you enough to an action. Because if you have no intrinsic motivation, if your pain point, which you can see but in the gap, is not big enough, then you will never bring the action. It doesn't matter how many people from the outside come to you and say, oh, you should do. If you don't feel the pain, and if you feel the pain and try to distract yourself all the time from the pain, then it's also not going to happen. And I have very, very few people in my environment who are actually searching to see the pain point and to develop as fast as possible. Because the funny thing is, your life is not forever. It's just a few more years. So each time when you prioritize going out, watching Netflix, going on Instagram, talking to the next friend, having a coffee here, distracting yourself here, and instead of to learn, for example, how to trade, then this is a very conscious decision. It's a conscious decision against the life you pretend to want to have. And I think that's very, very, very important, because trading, it's really not a rocket science. It's basically like learning how to fly a plane. So it's not super easy, but it's like you have a simulator. We have Forex Replay. We have a simulator where we can learn how to trade. So go there, do all the theory, then go take a demo account, do all the practical stuff, and then you do the tiny little bit of the rest with a real account. But that's just this. It's the last drop. And I really cannot understand what is the problem. It's really that most of the people, I think, they have no pain point, or the pain point is not big enough. That's my only explanation. And I can just tell you from maybe I'm a different person in that I can never stand in any situation which doesn't feel aligned with me. And when I had the first time the idea of being a trader, it was already almost too late. I was so close to immediately tell my boss I quit. Without having a plan, without having money, without having anything, just because the moment when I made the decision that I want to be a full-time trader, it felt almost, it felt like the biggest pain ever to go to my job every day. It was so hard that I decided, okay, I had the possibility to do home office. I was doing home office. I was doing the pure minimum I had to do. just so I could use every single second to study trading. Because I knew that one day more, I promised myself, I think by end of October, I'm gone, and that's what I did. And that's from my perspective, it's really, you have to allow yourself to feel the pain. And if you don't do it, then it's really hard to actually shift your reality. Yeah, but if you follow all these steps, it should be not a problem. Thank you for your energy and for being here and listening to me. I'm very happy that you all joined. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Then you can just put them here in the box, or you can just text me after on Instagram, Discord, or whatever channel you prefer. Oh yeah, thanks, Juliane. Okay, then thank you very much. I hope that, yeah, it does something to you and that you are thinking about your reality now and about your effort and your pain point. And I wish you all the best, and we see each other on Sunday. And mentees, let me know if you want to have the same call in English next Monday. In German, sorry. Bye-bye.